Updates. All right, this is the final crunch time before Southern Fried. Not going to have a few things completed for the show, but that's okay. I'm going to have the basic functionality that will be able to be demonstrated for powering a pinball machine with visual pinball, which I don't know if I've said yet, but that is the main objective with this project. My thought was, I saw the stuff going on with Dolph and all these neat controllers, and I was like, well, if you're going to power a solenoid, why not power a solenoid? So that's what this is. This whole project is to test that theory out. Will this be the way this table remains? Might I go to a fast controller or a P-Rock at some point? Maybe. But the initial thrust of this project was, can we run a pinball machine with virtual pinball? It looks like you can. But this is where it's at now. The only thing I have left to do prior to the show that I'm going to do, none of the high voltage coils are connected yet. That's the big project for tomorrow. All of the triggers are wired and complete. I'm using the key whiz for my inputs on my triggers. And then I have the LED whizzes. Those are controlling the lights on the playfield. All of it's scripted through Dolph. So the only thing left is I have a pin 1 board that I'm going to be using for my high power circuits. That is the last thing to go on. I still have some GI I have not wired up yet. But yeah, that's where we're at. This was a big project, the ball trough. You would think it would be easy, but no. Actually, I have more work on the opposite side on the apron than anywhere on this machine. Honestly, it took forever. And part of the reason was I kind of cheaped out. I did not want to purchase a new apron. So if you look, I might be able to show you here. So normally your apron would start up here and go all the way down to the playfield as one piece of steel. This is an original Gottlieb piece. So once you start adding height to your playfield, the playfield itself has to go farther into the cabinet. So once you do that, then you end up with issues with the positioning of the plunger. So in order to maintain the correct plunger position, and actually you can see there's I have a little bit of a cheat right here. This is making up for the thickness of this piece of wood that I have that props up the metal apron. This is my home fabricated ball trough chute. None of this has been tested, so I'm heading into the show with not a lot of testing. In fact, the day that it's at the show will probably be the longest period of time that this thing will have continuous power. So it's going to be interesting to see how long it actually lasts. I don't think there'll be any problems. I've tested everything as I've gone along. I am not just, cutting it on and seeing what happens. Everything was individually tested. I had fuses, various spots to protect the LED whizzes from any kind of a problem. They test fine. So each input switch has been individually tested. Drop targets, all that jazz. I tested all of the coils individually prior to, I actually restored all of these prior to putting them on, so shouldn't be any problems with the mechs. yeah, the only remaining piece, like I said, is the high voltage. So going to deal with that over the next couple days. Actually, I have probably 3 days that I could work. I'm only planning on working on 2 prior to the show, and I hope to show up on Thursday at some point to drop this off. If things aren't going well, I'll push it in and I'll come in on Friday. But the goal is to just be there on Thursday and, get it set up, and let's see what happens. If you're looking at this and you're thinking, oh, that's kind of crusty, well, you're right, it is. But it's not being used. I decided that this gate doesn't really need to open and close, because actually it's in the ball chute. So when the ball comes up and travels, it actually hits the back of the gate. Let me just get it in position like you'd be playing it. I've been working on it, so things have gotten jostled. But the ball will come up, strike the gate, and the coil actually acts as a little bit of a spring, because it's spring loaded, and then it pops back. So the spring right here is what's pulling the trick off. So I was just like, well, you plunge the ball, and then the gate is now in position to where, with my gameplay design, the ball will come back this way anyway, and then the gate will catch it. So it works absolutely perfectly with no coil necessary. Anything else here? I got some interesting switch placements for my kickers. Most of these leaf stacks have been custom made. Again, this is all combination of electromechanical. It's mostly electromechanical. There's not, you got your solid state boards for doing the lights and the inputs. But all the triggers, they're just old-fashioned leaf switches. But all this is secondhand parts that I've gotten off of eBay. And some of the parts are actually off the original King Cool donor cabinet that I had. And don't sweat over the King Cool, because the back glass was gone, missing. Actually, the back box itself was empty, so there was no reels, there was nothing. The cabinet, I do have a lot of the stuff from inside the cabinet. I sold the plastics because they were good, but the cabinet, everything about this thing was a write-off. But I did pass on the parts and I will continue to pass on parts to other King Cool owners if they so desire them. I did borrow one aesthetic from King Cool, which was the cool center thing. My original virtual pinball, this center mech, which is not going to be complete for the show, by the way. This center mech was surrounded by drop targets. But if you know much about drop targets, they take a whole lot of space. That's a 3-bank. This is a single bank. This is a 4-bank. I had this thing surrounded by 2 banks. So even if you take 2 of those side by side, there's just a lot going on there. And I decided instead instead of surrounding it with drop targets to hit, that every time you hit this target, it's going to advance one of these lamps until you get all the way around, and then that will result and trigger a defeat of the mech, and then down he comes. As you build up, as you advance in the game and the boomers get more difficult, I'm going to have multi-stages to defeat. There's also ways along this path. There's different colors. There's a blue, there's a pink, there's a green, and then there's a white. If during your combat you have, let's say, Pris, who's blue, let's say that she is maxed out on her strength. If you get to the boomer and you get to the blue light and then you hit the target for Pris, you will be credited for the entire loop. So if it's a one loop enemy and you get to Pris, you hit the trigger, boom, that's it. You don't have to advance it anymore. And you'll get a bonus for that. But that is going, virtually, that is extremely difficult. I don't know how it will play in a physical format, but we're going to find out at some point. I said the basic, you'll be able to shoot the ball at the show, flip a few times. There's not a lot, there's no central target yet. So I don't know if I'm going to just close this in and have one little target in there, just as a smack it type of target. It's going to depend on time. And speaking of which, I'm running out of time and it's time to go to bed. So I'll pick this up again tomorrow and press on. Hopefully see you guys at the show. Bye.